a new thermostat and coolant service. Let's get to it. This is what we're working on today, a 2009 Honda Civic LX. Now, we don't know when or if the thermostat in this Civic has ever been replaced. This thing has about 215,000 miles, so it's starting to show its age. And, you know, things like bad thermostats can cause Honda engines, or any engine, to overheat. And especially out here in the desert, that's not good. We could ruin our engine. So as part of preventive maintenance, we're going to go ahead and replace it today. And while we're in there, we'll just do a drain and fill on the cooling system also. Now, when I do a normal drain and fill or cooling system service on a Honda, that's usually all I do. I crack the drain down there, we'll drain it all the way out as much as we can. We'll close it back up, fill it back up with Honda coolant, bleed the system, and we're good to go. I recommend doing that once every 30,000 miles. If you do that, you should not have any issues with the actual coolant. Now, that's not going to say that you won't have issues with your cooling system, but the coolant itself should always stay fresh if you're just doing one little drain and fill every 30,000 miles or so. Now, some vehicles like this Civic right here, we do have a drain plug on our block right there. So that right there, we could crack that loose and start draining it also. Now, it really is not going to help us much on this vehicle because we're taking the thermostat out. But some vehicles have it, some Hondas do not. Typically, I leave those alone. I've found that if you're just doing the service every 30,000 miles like we're going to do, you don't have to worry about that. We don't have to open up any cans of worms that we don't want. Anytime you touch stuff like that that's been left alone for 200,000 miles, you never know what's going to happen. If you do pop that out, you will need to seal the threads back up, and there's a washer on there you're supposed to replace. I think it's 28 millimeter. Now, we really don't want to open up a cooling system when a vehicle's hot or it just was driven. You can get burned pretty good. There's a reason why they put these warnings on here. This vehicle sat overnight, so we're safe to open things up. Now, first thing I'm going to do is open the drain at the bottom of the radiator. See if we can see it. Yeah, right there. We'll just crack that open. Obviously, we'll put a drain pan underneath. And we'll start draining the radiator. Alright, we'll just slide a drain pan under there. Alright, it's down there. See if we can't crack it open. Oh, it's tight. Yeah, there we go. And to make it go a little faster, we'll just pop this open. Alright, we got two bolts holding this bracket in. One right there and one right here. So let's go ahead and get those out of our way right now. Whoops, dropped it. I just went ahead and tied it up out of our way. Alright, the thermostat housing has a bolt right here we got to get, and where's the other one? Right there. Alright, we'll crack this one loose with a 10 millimeter socket. I did move my bucket down there to catch any coolant, and we'll get this one over here too. Come on. Oh, there's some garbage. There's some garbage in the bolt head. I gotta get it out. Got it. It's a little rock or something that was jammed right in here. I didn't feel like dropping that one. Okay, just pop that off. Didn't really make a mess. And there it goes. There it is. Here's our new part. We're going with a genuine Honda part. So there's your part number. Hopefully you can read that. Made in Japan. It does come with a new rubber seal. Honda does recommend that you replace the rubber seal. I do too. But But I don't like using aftermarket thermostats on Hondas. They don't work as well. So I like going with the OEM one. We don't want to create any issues that weren't there. So if I'm doing it as a preventive maintenance, I'm certainly going to put the OEM one in. Alright, so we got our thermostat and we got our little seal here. And there's a couple of nubs on there. So it's going to go like that. It'll be installed like that. So this little opening right here will be right where our little pin is. And this little tab should be to the left of it like that. So we have to kind of slide it into the groove. There's a little groove right in here that we slide it into. Whoops. Come on. Alright, once you get it installed, that's how it should look. So the metal is sandwiched between this rubber on both this side and this side. So if you did it right, you know, everything will kind of match up, all the openings. So now we can go put it on the car. And I could be wrong, but it says, man, maybe you can't read it. It says 08 right there with a number 7 after it. So maybe the 7th month of 2008? I don't know. This is a 2009 model year, so it would make sense if that was when it was manufactured. But I do think it's the original one. Alright. Clean up the mating surface and dry up this coolant a little bit. It doesn't look bad. It's not too bad here as far as not all grimy and rusty and stuff like that. If yours is, you might have to clean it up a little bit. And we'll get this side cleaned up also. Alright, when things cleaned up, we'll just go ahead and get this in place. So we're going to put it in just like that. And we want it to kind of pop in with our pin straight up. Just like that. So it'll naturally find its home. Alright, we'll get our housing up into place and get the bolt started. Just using a magnetic socket, so I'll avoid dropping it. Get the other side. Alright, we'll get it snug. Alright, these are only 7.4 foot-pounds, so don't be carried away. Alright, we can go ahead and release this. Get our bracket back into place and get it started. And these are 7.2 foot-pounds if you're worried about torquing them. We'll just get them snugged up. There you are. I was wondering where the cap went. Alright, why don't we close our drain to the radiator before we forget. And I don't care how many drain pans and pig mats you put down, you always make a mess. I know there's coolant under there somewhere. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and fill the system back up with coolant. I'm going to be using genuine Honda coolant. If you're not going to use genuine Honda coolant, you're going to go aftermarket, I would recommend at the very least use something like this where it's blue and made for Honda and Acura. I would stay away from the green one-size-fits-all stuff. As far as how much you're going to need, typically you're going to need 2 jugs. It's going to take 1 full one, and then usually it takes part of a second one also. When you refill it with coolant, Hondas are very susceptible of getting air pockets inside the cooling system. So in order to eliminate that, you have to bleed the system. To do that, I'm going to be using a spill-free funnel. These aren't very expensive. I don't know how much they are, 20, 30 bucks. They're definitely great. I would recommend getting one. If you don't want to do that, you can just fill the system up and then just leave it, you know, loose like that, and it'll kind of bubble the air up. You will make a mess. It's going to spill, hence the reason this is called a spill-free funnel. You will spill some coolant and make a little bit of a mess, but you can always do that if you don't want to buy this. But I definitely recommend bleeding the system anytime you drain a Honda. Go ahead and take this opportunity to dump this and refill it with fresh coolant. All right, I dumped it out, cleaned it up. Definitely better than it was. All right, I'm going to fire it up. We're going to leave our HVAC off, but we're going to put this all the way to hot. And we're going to let it warm up. There's probably some big pockets that'll pop out of here right away, and then things will kind of settle down until it gets fully warmed up. And I fired up the scan tool so we can keep an eye on the coolant temp sensors. So ECT1 is at 125, ECT2, which is at the bottom of the radiator, is 64 degrees right now. And we want to keep an eye on our coolant temperature gauge. If that thing spikes all the way to the H, there's probably a pocket of air right next to our ECT. We need to shut the vehicle down for 10-15 minutes and then try it again. And I'm just going to bring the RPMs up to about 2,000. Just pressing on the gas. We'll bring it up to 2,000 and just kind of run it like that. That way we can help warm it up, otherwise we'll be here all day. And what we want to see is that this rises steadily, our ECT1. ECT2 shouldn't move a whole lot until the thermostat opens. Once it starts to open, usually between 185, 190 degrees on ECT1, then we'll start to see this one rise, and then we'll know our thermostat is working properly. And this is the vehicle we fixed our fuel gauge on. Looks like it's still going strong. Alright, ECT2 is starting to move now. Our thermostat is opening. Just waiting for the fans to come on. Usually when ECT2 passes 205 degrees, they'll come on. And there they go. Both fan control low and high came on, which means the fans are on high right after we passed. It jumped to 208, I think is what it was, but once it passes like 205, I think is where it is, 206, right in there. That's when the fans will come on. And you saw their coolant temperatures drop down pretty fast with those fans when they come on. We'll just keep an eye on the air coming out. When we're satisfied that we got most of it, we'll shut her down. Both fans are working properly. And it looks like we got most of the air out. I think we're good to go. Just be careful, this coolant's hot. We're going to fill it all the way up to the max line. Of course, I recommend disposing of used coolant properly. Double check things, clean up any mess we may have made. And we used 1 full gallon jug and about 1/4 of a second one. Well, that's it for this one. And as always, if the video helped you out, you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Alright, a little bit of bonus footage. Obviously, when we were bleeding the system, the coolant was hot. It had expanded. Now the vehicle has fully cooled off, so that coolant has contracted and pulled some back into the system from our reservoir here. So let's double check it. And there's our max line, there's our min line down there, and we can see the coolant level's a little bit below our minimum line. That's pretty common for this to happen when you've opened up the system. Some of the coolant, when it contracts, will get pulled back in. That's why we always top it off to the max line, and then it's always a good idea to double check your coolant level. And I'm going to top it back off to the max line, and then we should be good to go. Thanks for sticking around to the end.